Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient. Been dealing with cancer since early 2021, doing very well. Uh, I'm expecting to get some more testing done at the end of this month, and I will give further updates once I get the results. But for right now, I feel terrific and ready to do a great interview here with Mr. Georges Cordoba. And so, Georges, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you for having me in your show. Again, yeah, my name is Georges Cordoba, and I am a proud survivor of advanced cancer with metastasis in my brain. I fought the disease for 10 years, and I have 10 surgeries on me, including 4 craniotomies and 2 gamma knives, because the disease, melanoma, advanced melanoma, went to my brain. And so it was a different game once that happened.
Where did
But
you
I
originally have the melanoma, Georges?
I had it on August uh,
No,
August
but
two.
where on your body?
Oh, originally it was on my scalp,
Oh,
and
okay.
but it went through my lymph nodes, and so it became a 10-year battle. Thank God for the surgeries. I mean, a lot of them, most of them were operable, except two brain tumors with that were not operable, and but they disappear. I have a book explaining all this stuff. I'm a person of faith, and I really lean into that. But I'm also an athlete. I played NCAA Division One tennis, and as a youngster, I was born in Venezuela actually, of parents from Spain and Greece. I'm first generation Venezuelan, but I came to the States very young. I was 17, and then I got a scholarship to play here, and I got my degree as a technologist. And in my previous life, I was a CTO. I got to be a CTO after 25 years of in my career, but I got sick, and everything changed. And but on year 7 of the 10 years, I was already on my seventh surgery, which was a craniotomy, my first craniotomy. It was all around from my, between the, in the front lobe of my brain. And when they gave me the new chemo, quote unquote, for that would penetrate the brain, um, basically on the second round of it, I just couldn't take it anymore. It was 7 years of surgery, treatment, remission, recurrent surgery, treatment, remission, and it was just never ending. I'm a person of faith. I did a lot of meditation and prayer and for discernment, and I made a decision to go the holistic natural route, the journey, holistic journey to heal. And here I am. In 2012 was my last surgery, and I've been cancer free for 12 years. 7 years ago, I decided to go into, just took another leap of faith and made a transition from technology to health and wellness. And I've been coaching, helping people with cancer and chronic disease. And basically, I work with them and I help them transform their health and vitality. Many people, most people, I would say, Mark, um, are familiar. The mind goes to what is familiar, and we all go running to an oncologist, and there's no other option for us in the Western cultures. However, there are many alternatives that you could actually, when I work with my clients now, they don't necessarily need to stop their traditional treatments, but I do tell them that I teach them how to take the chemo in terms of their mindset. Just see it as another weapon. If it's really making you feeling bad, imagine those little cells. It's killing those. But they can actually do some stuff parallel to it. So it would probably expedite the healing process. And so, but I did decide to go natural, detox myself, And basically, without coaching at that time, for the last 7 years, like I said, I've been coaching. I became a nutritionist, a Reiki master, hypnotherapist, and I have some transformational coaching, transformation coaching method, which it's all about changing habits and getting rid of beliefs that are not doing anything any good. And on the other hand, actually, we need to clear that clutter. I realized in my case, Mark, that when I went natural and I started, I made that decision and went forward with it with the faith that it would, God's pharmacy was going to work out. I realized that we have several components in our holistic being. And one of them is, when I do the coaching, I explained it is the four legs of the table: your physical self, your emotional self, your mental self, and your spiritual self. And what I
George,
didn't
let's
know,
let's back up a little bit, okay?
uh-huh,
Let's leave that aside for right now.
okay.
Let's talk about more about your thought process during your journey and what was going through your mind. Uh, can I ask you, you had brain surgeries and things like that. I don't see any scars on you. How is
It's
that?
it's amazing.
Yes.
Maybe it's a light. You can see here.
Uh-huh.
Here is one.
Uh-huh.
Here's another one. Well, here are two. I had the first one that they did, it was ambulatory, but it reoccurred again at the same time they took 23 lymph nodes from my right side and a muscle. I mean, if I took my shirt off, and actually here is probably the lining, but I do have a very pronounced scar here. But that's another great question you said, because they told me I would have, kind of like cavities
Uh-huh.
after the surgeries, and I have none. Over
No,
on
you
this side,
don't. I can't believe it. It's
over on this side, I don't know. There is a little cavity here and a
yes, I
little,
could see that one.
but I have four craniotomies.
Uh-huh.
And the way, that's a great question you asked me. From my side, mom's side of the family, pretty much everybody had died of cancer. The Greek side of my family. And I grew up fearing the disease. I thought I would be doomed when I saw the landscape of my mom's side of the family. In fact, when I was diagnosed, my mom had just passed of cancer 3 weeks before. So talk about, the secret, the stuff on the mind. And now as a hypnotherapist, I understand, but I fear the disease all my life. And when I was diagnosed 3 weeks after my mom passed, um, I thought, man, I'm doomed. This is just, family history. I learned so, but at that moment, after I really went through the roller coaster that you probably went, nobody wants to hear the diagnosis. Um, I said no. I said I'm going to fight this. I'm going to beat the odds, and I'm going to just be the first person in my family that survives the disease. And that
Let,
was
let me
really
pause let me pause you right there.
right.
What you just said is so important for a cancer journey. You have to believe that you could beat it. You have to believe that you're going to get well. So talk about that with your experience and, you know, in your relationship, about that
Mhm.
very thing. How important was that?
Oh yeah, very very important. First of all, I just thought, man, this doesn't make sense. I have five young kids. I'm a, where I thought a great dad, very honest. I was, my wife and I were striving in our careers. I was doing everything, coaching the kids and soccer, teaching them tennis, and going camping. I mean, it was just great, and this thing just happened. So I didn't even have a chance to mourn my mom, and really, because I just went I said, well, I'm going to fight this thing. It was maybe my competitive attitude. I'm like I said, a tennis player, played Division One, NCAA Division One tennis here in the States. And but it was a roller coaster in the beginning. I kept asking for a few months, why? Why me? And it wasn't until I really understood that I took ownership. I say, you know what? It's my fault. And at that point, I mean, I was a tennis player all my life in the sun. I served. I lived in the tropical, by the equator in Venezuela until I was 17. And so I said, well, this is my fault. So the moment that I understood that it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. There's got to be something in here that that I don't understand yet, but I'm not gonna lose this thing. In fact, when it went to my brain on year 7, I have met I'm Catholic Christian, and my daughter, out of the 5 kids, we have one daughter, the youngest. Her godparents are both doctors, and Steve is actually a surgeon. And so I called him when he went to the brain. I said, look, why don't you come over before the kids come back from school? He was off. And get to the New England Journal of Medicine and let me know what is my opponent? What is it? Because the doctor said some things, but so he came. He's also a first generation Venezuelan. His parents from Italy. And in the Mediterranean, we're pretty emotional. So he's 6'4". He started dropping some tears, and we grew up together. We were in the same team in Venezuela, the national junior team. And at the end of the day, so he starts dropping the tears, and I said, well, let me read it. So I read it, and he said that I had a 4%, once it's in the brain, melanoma, it's about 3 to 6 months, 4% chance of survival. And so I got up and I look up to him because he's much taller. And I said, Stefano, why can't I be one of those 4? In fact, I'm going to be one of those 4. And he hugged me and said, you see, that's why you got it. Because if I would have gotten it, knowing what I know, I'll die of just anxiety. And so it was really the attitude. And also, I would have to say, Mark, that I had kind of like, I read some things on what, for example, Jesus would say about the children, have the heart of the children, not the mind. And so in a way, I was a child. I was a child in terms of, you know what, I'm gonna beat this thing. In fact, my book's name is Beating the Odds. And so I went on my journey. Many of my friends already, especially being doctors. My wife was this ultrasound tech. They were already thinking, okay, let's go ahead and sponsor. You take this, Alex. You take the. They wanted to sponsor our kids, in terms of their education and stuff, because they're ruling me out. And in fact, when they go ahead,
Let me
yeah.
pause you. Let me pause you right there. I think one of the problems that people have with the cancer journey is how to deal with family. So talk about how your wife and your family were involved in your cancer journey, and what did they do
Yeah, well, and
as
this is,
as participants?
yes, it's awesome because a lot of people, as you may know, everybody, especially with my wife, a saint, I dedicated my book to her. Everybody was asking about me. How's George doing? How's George doing? Nobody said, how are you doing? The caregiver, who is really absorbing the whole thing as well, with 5 kids, imagine. And now it's just one job. I couldn't keep going for a while. It was like 9 months that I was just pretty much in fetal position. They were trying different chemos and interfering and stuff. So with her, it was a roller coaster in terms also emotionally for her, because we're people of faith, and she was afraid to tell the kids to pray for me. First, they just lost their grandmother a few months earlier, in the beginning, a few weeks earlier, and so she was scared because she said, "Well, have faith that God is going to heal your dad." And then, but if it didn't happen, they would lose their faith. For example, with all my other friends, and it happens to pretty much every family. Um, there's some sort of enigma about cancer. They see it with uppercase letters, bolded letters, and cancer is just coming here to take your life. And so I did, and this you're asking some great questions, Mark. What I did, believe it or not, I would, before I would leave the house. First of all, after my first craniotomy, I had like 70 stitches across my forehead. They thought I'll be there several times with my craniotomies. People were coming up the stair, up the elevator in the hospital, and I was leaving the hospital. I just could not be there. And I said, "Doctor, look, take the catheter out. I can go to the bathroom alone." And I would go and try to play tennis. And my friends would say, "What are you doing here? You got this thing." It's just, I jumped on the pool. And so I really did not allow to have to adopt the let's say the patient attitude. Oh, I'm gonna go to a corner and just cry, why me? That's one thing that after I went through the emotional roller coaster, I made a decision. You know what? I'm gonna protect myself, and I know the best coach we have, Mark, is our intuition, but we lose it as we grow up. We gave it away. And for some reason, I really, with my discernment and meditation, I knew that if I visualize myself being clear of cancer, that I did a lot of visualization, like I did when I was competing in tennis. I used that. I changed so many things, and then I started to read a lot about holistic health, and realized that I was going to continue to have recurrences until I found the root cause of my disease. That the oncologists will not tell you that. They're not nutritionists or psychologists or anything else. So you have to own your disease, like they say Lance Armstrong did. I read his book at that time, in those days, and so I did that. And then with reading and researching, I realized that an amazing and very powerful healing aspect of this holistic journey was forgiveness. Being forgiven, forgiving others, and forgiving myself. I have a whole chapter in the book about that, which, by the way, that book came out. I launched it just when you were diagnosed, and he made bestseller the first day. Amazon bestseller the first day. And that's, people want to hear that there are alternatives, and you don't necessarily have to quit what you're doing, but you could add more arsenal to your battle.
Have you heard the story about Liam Hendricks?
No,
Do you know who he is?
not really. Maybe you tell me, and I could tell you yes.
Okay. Last year, he's a pitcher for the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And last year, he started the season, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And he was going through chemo, and he would come home from his chemo treatment, and he would pitch after his chemo treatment.
Yes.
And he said, "I'm going to pitch this year." And this was last season,
Yes.
not this season. And he ended up
Yeah.
pitching, come back to pitching in the summer of last year. I just couldn't believe it. I
Yes.
mean, so that goes right along with what you're saying.
Absolutely. I mean, I actually, and I love to run. I would actually, several times I would stop and vomit, because I mean, I would, but mentally I kept doing, I would actually, this is how I say it in the book, I will leave my cancer home and I just go do the things that I love to do. Because, by the way, I had no idea. I mean, we're all going to go one day, but once you get the knock in the door, like you and I, we're just thinking, okay, we start changing just because of the experience. But you're right. That is, and stories like him, and my case, the same thing. And not only that, when they took my muscle to the on the right side, here they took a muscle, they took 23 lymph nodes. That was my third surgery, and but there were three nodes that they could not get to, so they decided to remove a neck muscle. If I take my shirt, you can see that I'm kind of like tilted, and that's because I don't have that in my right side, and the guy said, well, we'll do some therapy, the surgeon oncologist, and most likely you won't be able to serve again. And I was still competing in my age group and stuff like that. And I got home, like I said, I got home like at 3 in the afternoon. At 6, I knew that my buddies were gonna be working out and playing. And so I went, and it was weird. In the beginning, I was trying to hit the ball and I would hit the frame all the time. Talk about muscle memory, and I didn't have that muscle. Everything is synchronized, And but I finally did it, and then I tried serving. It was really hard, I had to go underarm, but I managed to do it within like 4 weeks. I was serving, and they really got the message, my buddies, and say, he we cannot tell him differently. He hasn't this attitude. And I protected myself every day. I say, because people come, and you know this, they go, oh, Georges, Mark, how you doing, man? How you doing? No, man, I'm doing great. How about you? And they would get shocked with my answer, and it is like that. And then I have to tell you that when you're saying the mindset through this part, when you ask about friends and family, especially family, they were young children, and it's not the same to go do it now. If I was sick now and my kids are all already out of the house, they're in college, to do their life. My grandfather, it would be different. But going through it, and let's say the toughness of melanoma, and with 5 kids, it was an additional, let's say, variable in the equation of stress or anxiety. So I had to really work on nourishing myself physically, emotionally, spiritually, and in the mind is so powerful. It's the mind actually does what you think, what you visualize, and what you say. It does everything possible in conjunction with your subconscious mind to make it happen. So if you know this rule, one of the rules is that we go to what is familiar. Everybody goes to the oncologist, but if you know this other rule that it does whatever you say, you might as well say positive stuff, because I'm healed in the present moment. No, I will be healed, because the mind doesn't understand the past or the present. I am healed. I am healed. And you keep doing it, and you keep saying it, you're breathing and seeing it, it happens, because healing happens from the inside out, not from the outside in. And I'm telling you, I really love even my oncologist, because he agreed. When I decided that I was going to go natural, almost 8 years into this battle, he said, are you sure, Georges? And I said, I'm sure, but I would appreciate if you continue to do follow-ups on me. And he agreed. I have clients where the oncologists have said no. If you don't continue with your immunotherapy or whatever therapy they're doing, they're not willing to work with them. So,
Exactly. How would you say, and I'll relate I was in a Division I athlete or anything like that, but I was always, I worked out religiously 3 to 5 times a week for decades. And so I was in what I thought was great shape. And
Well, you look good, by the way.
oh,
You look
thank you.
very
I mean, when I was at my worst back in 2021, I only weighed 123 pounds. I
me
was
too.
very weak. And so I'm forming my next question for you.
Mhm.
So I was always, my favorite sport was basketball. I was a basketball junkie. I was in the gym in college every single day. In fact, I skipped class to play basketball all day
Okay.
long. And we used to, that was when the Showtime Lakers back in the 80s,
Hmm.
they used to practice at my school.
Oh, wow.
So we used to see them every single day. Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Kurt Rambis, all of
Pat
them.
Riley.
Pat Riley, my wife's favorite. And so we used to hang out at the gym and play basketball all day long. It was just, we just loved to do it. So when I got cancer and I got really sick, I could barely walk. I mean, it was a supreme effort to walk across the room. It took me 10 minutes to walk across a small room.
Wow.
And my approach was, I always kept thinking about rehab, rehab, how, like professional athletes or college athletes used to always say, rehab is so painful and it's so tedious and it's so long and, you're by yourself and you're with your own thoughts. So, was that the same thing that happened to you when you were going through your journey? Was the athletics and the drive and things like that? How did that play a role in you getting better? Because when I was at my weakest, I was so weak. I used to curl prior to cancer, I was curling, 20, 25 pound uh, dumbbells. And,
Hmm.
that was just something that I did all the time.
Yeah.
When I started back using weights, I could only lift 1 pound weights. And for me at first to accept that I am that weak was really, really difficult. But once I did, it was easy, because then the increments, hey, okay, I'm doing 1 pound, you know, 5 times, and tomorrow I'm going to do 1 pound 6 times. And each day I just tried a little bit more. And now I'm back to, curling, uh, 15, 20 pounds again. Not quite what I was doing before, but compared to where I was. And it took a long time, and you don't see the results. The results just seem like they take forever, but if you keep at it, you will see the results. So talk about how the mindset of an athlete helped you in your cancer journey.
Yeah. Great question. And again, kudos to you because that's resilience, and that's believe it or not, that's faith. You just say, well, okay, I'm going to start from step one. Some people tell me, man, but it takes about 17 months to, or let's say 12 months to do this. And what I tell them is, especially like with my sons, and well, the 12 months are going to happen anyway. You might as well do it, because you're going to be there in 12 months, with or without this new task or this new talent or whatever. Yeah, especially with a tennis player, because you don't, you either win or lose. There's no tie, and it's you, not the team lost, or the team tied or the team won. It's you. You won or you lose. So when you grow up as a tennis athlete, you become really, and that in a way helped me. You become self-centered. You have, basically, yeah, you have your family, friends that cheering you out in the stands, or if you play in another country, but but it did really help me. Especially again, I use visualization, which I they taught us when in the national junior team we had a guy, an Olympian from Yugoslavia before it, the Balkans war. This is in the 70s. Taught us how to visualize in our matches if you're coming back or if you had somebody. My dad played Davis Cup, so I had to every time everybody had expectations that I was going to do the same. So when my dad came to see me, I would play really bad because I could hear him breathing, and it was mine. It was my mind, and he would be even, let's say 2,000 people there, and I could hear him shh, when I made a mistake. So I had to work on that to have my dad watching me. So
Oh boy.
but he helped me because you create a competitive spirit, just like you did with basketball, and you have that spirit. In my case, it helped me a great deal because once I realized that I had to be responsible for my stuff. I could not give all these things. Okay, oncologist, do it for me. No. Or even asking the universe, asking God to say, hey, help me. Yeah. But faith without action is dead. You got to take action. Intention without action is an illusion. And we know that every year when people do the New Year's resolution, by March, nobody is doing their stuff. There's no resilience or no action. So I took action, and I managed to see cancer as my toughest opponent ever. And what would I do to win a match? I would have to prepare, study my opponent. I had to get some advice from my coaches, and so I did the same thing. I started to do the same thing, and one of the things that I did outside the book by Lance Armstrong really helped me when he said you have to own your disease. Don't wait for the oncology has 300 patients. He's not going to think, oh, I'm going to help George because it's George. So I had to be the one on top of everything. The documents, the test results, all the stuff, second opinions. I was actually fighting against this thing. And then when I decided to go natural, it really something opened up. It's almost like faith is really the certainty of what you want, that is going to happen. And so when I decided to take action and understand, and I humbled myself and said, look, these people are trying, but they don't have the answers. The only healer could be out there with my actions. And so, yeah, my athlete spirit really helped me. I was in good shape like you. You're right with the weights. I tried because for tennis, you don't want to get too bulky, but I was the same way. You stop, even now, healthy, you stop working out, and it's almost like for 3 months, and then you have to almost feel like you're starting again. You have to go back. But yeah, it helped me a lot. That mindset of competition really helped me. And
Awesome.
and also the fact that I would just say, this can't happen. You blessed me with 5 beautiful children, and now you're gonna leave an orphan? I mean, what's up here, So I didn't really accept it. And when I talk, if you go to my site and you see the success stories, don't avoid becoming a patient. Don't take the attitude of a patient and also giving all the power to the oncologist, because that's when you forget it. You're not going to make it. The power is in you. You have it, Mark, and I can see it. I can just see that you'll be okay because it's you're not really acting. Your energy is not one of, oh my goodness, I'm doomed. No, that's really what really makes a difference. I remember my wife and my kids, let's say adult kids now, saying, Dad, you haven't done a PET scan in about 6 years. Why don't you go get one? Why don't you go get one? So I don't have it. I'm cancer free. Please, it's their fears. When you went back to that answer, what happens is that because everybody's in the same, mindset with the what is familiar, everybody really treats you like you're gone, you know, and they're already kind of like even subconsciously expecting that. And then they see this guy, the doctor that I tell you, he's one of my credits in the back of the book. And I was surprised, but he said, you know, George proved us all wrong. And he's talking about his friends that we play dominoes and stuff, doctors, and I would be in the, yeah. And so it's from the inside out. That's number one. And for the audience, we're not a statistic. They say 4%, but I'm George. You are Mark. Forget the statistics. It's you. And you could be the outlier of that, your statistic. And so, yeah,
I have a couple more questions for you,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we're going to
sure.
wrap it up. Would you like to come back to shoot a part two for the interview? Because I think we have a lot more to talk about.
A lot more, and not knowing your story too. Oh yeah, I would love to, for sure.
Okay. And then my final question for you for today is this. What one lesson that you've learned through your cancer journey, and try to keep it short because I know you could
Yeah.
like really make it a long answer. What message would you want to leave for your kids uh, as what's the most important thing that you've learned through your whole cancer journey?
Okay, make it very short. Is that I would say, kids, and I have actually, no one will believe in you until you believe in you.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That is
Hmm.
beautiful. I love that. Absolutely love that. Georges, it's been an honor
Me
speaking with
too.
you, and we're going to come back and shoot a part two. And I'd like to thank everyone out there for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. And always remember that, and George is a perfect example, we only go around once. And so it's up to each and every one of us to make the very, very most of each and every day.
Amen.
We can't afford to waste time in this life. And don't waste any day. Don't waste a minute because that's how precious life is. And with that, I will sign off. Thank you so much for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. Please like, make a comment in the comments section, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And we will see you next week. Have a very blessed week and be awesome as always. Thank you so much.